Okay, let's dive right in. Welcome to today's Explainer. We're tackling a massive and honestly incredibly relevant question about modern human behavior. We're looking at why it feels like the world has suddenly become so cold, and more importantly, how we can actually fix it. So, I want you to imagine a scenario that's probably going to feel, well, a little too familiar. Picture this. You wake up, grab your phone off the nightstand, and literally within 5 minutes, you've already argued with a total stranger online. Then you roll your eyes at a coworker's opinion in a group chat, you head out the door, totally ignore a person asking for change on the street, and on your commute, you scroll right past a heartbreaking news story without even thinking twice. Now, I want to be perfectly clear right out of the gate, none of this makes you a bad person, not at all. But this casual, almost robotic disconnection we engage in every single morning, it reveals something really profound about the modern world we're navigating. So the absolutely crucial point is we have to ask ourselves, are we actually becoming less empathetic? Well, according to psychologists, the answer might be a resounding yes. And if this is true, it's basically the skeleton key that unlocks so many of our modern problems. Think about it. A decline in empathy could explain everything from intense political polarization and our totally toxic internet culture to the whole epidemic of modern loneliness and broken relationships. So what exactly is happening to our brains? To figure that out, we need to look at a rather shocking piece of history. Section 1. The Paintball Room Experiment, a 2007 study in cruelty and kindness. Back in 2007, an artist volunteered to lock himself inside a small room for an entire month. The room was basically empty, just a bed, a desk, a lamp, and a paintball gun. But here was the catch, and it's a big one. The paintball gun was hooked up to the internet, and anyone, literally anywhere in the world, could take control of it, aim, and fire at him. The results were wildly contrasting when human beings were given this immense, completely anonymous power. On one hand, you had absolute brutality. Thousands of complete strangers logged on and shot him. Some fired once, others fired hundreds of times. The room became absolutely covered in yellow paint and broken furniture, and the artist grew genuinely terrified to even go to sleep. But on the other hand, something completely unexpected happened. Some people flat out refused to shoot. Strangers actually showed up to the physical location to bring him food. One person even replaced a lamp that the internet had shot and destroyed. And incredibly, groups of strangers worked together online to hack the controls, pointing the gun away from him to protect him from other attackers. It's wild, right? The exact same technology that enabled brutal cruelty also inspired beautiful, totally unexpected kindness. So what actually separates those two groups of people? Section 2. Defining true empathy. Beyond just feeling sorry. The dividing line between the people who fired the gun and those who brought food, it comes down to true empathy. But before we can solve the mystery of why empathy is disappearing in our society, we kind of have to establish exactly what it is. To understand this, imagine sitting at lunch with a close friend. Their phone rings, they answer it, and within seconds they burst into tears. In that exact moment, what you experience is defined as empathy. It's a complex psychological ability that goes way beyond simply feeling pity for another person. Empathy is not just a passive emotion where you sit back and say, oh, wow, that's too bad. No, psychologists actually view it as a highly dynamic, active psychological process. When your friend starts crying, three distinct gears start turning inside you. First is feeling. Their emotions literally spread to you, and you start feeling sad yourself. Second is understanding. Your brain starts rapidly trying to see their perspective, asking, wait, what happened? What are they going through right now? And third is caring. You genuinely want to help, and you just hope they're going to be okay. Together, these three gears make up the empathy machine, and it's a measurable skill that creates real human connection. It doesn't just benefit the person receiving it either, it actually helps the giver too. For example, patients recover faster with empathetic doctors, kids build much healthier friendships, and marriages survive longer when this three-part process is actively running. Section 3. The Suspects. Why we stop caring. So here is the alarming truth. Research indicates that over the past few decades, our collective empathy has been sharply declining. To find the culprits, we have to look at the environment we've built for ourselves. And here's the great irony of the modern age. On a daily basis, we are surrounded by more humans than at any other point in history. We walk through packed cities, sit in endless traffic, and scroll past literally thousands of usernames on social media. But because of this overwhelming scale, we actually feel connected to fewer of them. We're encountering hundreds of strangers, but we don't actually know any of them, which naturally kind of numbs our brains to their existence. Nowhere is this numbness more obvious than on the internet. Text on a screen is just an opinion, but a voice or a smile, that is a real person. Think about it. If you see a political opinion you strongly disagree with, written as pure text, it is shockingly easy to just dismiss that person. It's easy to insult them. But psychologists have found that the moment you hear someone's voice, or see them laugh, or even just notice a trembling in their tone, you are drastically less likely to dehumanize them. Those tiny human details remind our brains that there's a living, breathing person behind the screen, stripping away the anonymity that makes cruelty so easy in the first place. But hey, the internet isn't the only culprit here. Our own psychology naturally divides the world into us versus them. A famous sports jersey experiment proves this perfectly. Imagine someone falls on the street right in front of you. If they're wearing your favorite sports team's jersey, experiments show you'll probably rush to help them immediately. But if they're wearing your biggest rival's jersey, participants actually hesitated. Our empathy becomes dangerously narrow when our identity is narrow. It's basically pure tribalism. But here is the absolutely incredible pivot from that same experiment. When researchers asked those same participants to stop focusing on their specific team and instead asked them to think about how much they loved the sport itself, the whole shebang changed. Their willingness to help everyone, even the rival fans, dramatically increased. Think of yourself as part of something bigger, and your empathy naturally grows. When we expand our identity from my team to fellow fans of the game, or from my political party to fellow citizens, our compassion expands right alongside it. It's a real game changer. Section 4. The plot twist. The hidden cost of empathy. As much as we talk about how great empathy is, there's actually a very logical, self-preserving reason why we sometimes actively shut it down in our daily lives. I want you to be totally honest with yourself for a second. Have you ever crossed the street to avoid someone asking for money? Most of us have, right? And usually, we feel the sharp pang of guilt afterward. But psychologists suggest we shouldn't necessarily view this as a sign that our society has just become fundamentally evil. In reality, we aren't always avoiding suffering because we don't care. Very often, we're avoiding suffering because we care way too much. This is known as compassion fatigue. Therapists and doctors experience this kind of burnout all the time. If a doctor deeply absorbs the emotional pain of every single patient they see all day, every day, they're gonna collapse. Empathy without healthy boundaries is just incredibly emotionally exhausting. So sometimes when we scroll past a tragedy or cross the street, it's actually our brain's defense mechanism kicking in. The goal isn't to feel everyone's pain all the time. The goal is to learn how to care without completely losing yourself in the process. Section 5. Training your empathy muscle. The rehabilitation. The absolute best news derived from all this research is that empathy is not a fixed trait. You aren't just born with a set amount of it that you're stuck with forever. It's a muscle, which means it can be actively trained and rehabilitated. So how do we hit the empathy gym? Well, step 1, read fiction. Research actually shows that people who regularly read novels are better at understanding other people's emotions, mostly because for a few hours, you're forced to live inside someone else's head. Step 2, practice acting or perspective taking. To play a character, an actor literally has to figure out what that person fears and hopes for. It's literal empathy training. And step 3, ask better questions. This is a technique we can literally all start using today. This totally reframes our daily conflicts. The next time someone says something you find completely unreasonable, your instinct is naturally going to be to ask, how can anyone believe that? But I want you to train yourself to ask a slightly different question. Ask, what experiences make this belief make sense? Trying to understand the root of someone's belief does not mean you're agreeing with them, not at all. It just means you are stepping out of your own shoes for 5 seconds. And that psychological shift, that is exactly where empathy begins. Ultimately, empathy isn't pretending everyone is right. It is recognizing that every person sees the world through a completely different set of experiences. We really have to remember that your reality feels incredibly obvious to you, but their reality feels just as obvious to them. The more we keep that in the front of our minds, the less likely we are to treat people as enemies, and the more likely we are to treat them as fellow, complicated human beings. So, the absolutely crucial point to take away from all of this is right here. Empathy doesn't just happen automatically. It's a choice. It's a skill. Technology can divide us, or it can connect us, just like we saw with the whole paintball experiment. Our social groups can narrow our compassion, or they can expand it. But ultimately, caring is a muscle that grows every single time we consciously pause, listen, and choose connection in a very divided world. So I'm going to leave you with this to think about. If you knew the hidden experiences behind the loudest person you disagree with, would they still be your enemy, or would they just be a reflection of a different life? Keep exercising that empathy muscle, and we will see you on the next explainer.